Hello, my name is Jonathon Phinkel, and I am a professional Magic player with 69 total Pro Tour, Grand Prix, F&M, and Magic Online Draft Queue top 8s to my name. And today I will be reviewing the most noteworthy cards from the newest set, Unstable. We'll be doing this in classic rugby order, so let's start with the red cards. The first card is going to be the countdown is at 1. Already I can tell Wizards is pushing boundaries with card design in this set, as this is an effect that we don't get too often. In fact, in the entire game of Magic, there are only 10 spells that double the damage of any source to a player. This is a very powerful effect, especially when considering the premier beater in Eternal format, Stormcrow. If I did the math correctly, that essentially makes Stormcrow a 10-turn clock rather than a 20-turn clock, which is arguably twice as good. Next, we have Infinity Elemental. Now this card is pretty bad. For 7 mana, you're only getting a total of Infinity plus 5 in stats, which is very overcosted for a hyper-real stat line. Also, without any evasion, this card gets easily chump blocked, especially with the current meta of natural integer stat creatures. Let's move on to a more promising card. Garbage Elemental will be the last red card I'll be reviewing, and it shows a lot of potential in both Modern and Kaladesh block constructed. With popular creatures like Snapcaster Mage, Thought-Knot Seer, Bristling Hydra, and many more wardy creatures that see a lot of play in both formats, Garbage Elemental is essentially a 5-mana 4/4 unblockable creature. It also dodges Bolt and Push, some of the most common and effective removal spells. Unfortunately, Stormcrow is able to block it, which does limit the overall playability of this card. Let's move on to the white cards, starting with Chivalrous Chevalier. Now the power level of this card is going to be highly dependent on your local meta. The greater the number of attractive players, the more likely it is that you will be unable to resist complementing an opponent, losing you valuable flexibility in the card's bounce effect. Keep this in mind when planning on playing with this card. Next, we have Knight of the Kitchen Sink, which has protection from black borders. Now this effect may seem very powerful at first, but the potential of this card wanes dramatically when you look at how many of the most powerful creatures have been printed with white borders. Shivan Dragon, Nightmare, Fungasaur, and many more have all been printed with white borders. Of course, we can't forget the most powerful creature, 8th edition Stormcrow. As such, Knight of the Kitchen Sink will just be a 2/2 for 2 most of the time, which is not enough when compared to the aforementioned power. The last white card in this review is Rules Lawyer, with the game warping effect of not applying state-based actions to you or other permanents you control. In order to fully understand the potential impact of this card, we'll have to take a look at all the state-based actions that this card affects, as described in Rule 704 in the Magic the Gathering Comprehensive Rulebook. For your convenience, I will put a list of all state-based actions on the screen for you to read. Now, beginning with Rule 704.5a. 704.5x. In a plane chase game, if a phenomenon card is face up in the command zone, and it isn't the source of a triggered ability that is triggered but not yet left the stack, the planar controller planeswalks. So will this card see play? Well, let's go back to Rule 704.5a. The first blue spell of this review is More or Less. At only 1 blue mana, this can be a very powerful spell in the right circumstance. For example, if you would cast this targeting a lightning bolt, you would be able to increase the damage from 3 to 4, if I did my math correctly. Now, that's an approximately 33.3% increase in power, which is fine, but compare that to casting it on a Stormcrow, and you're seeing a jump from 1 to 2 whole power, which is an incredible 100% increase in power. Use this card wisely and you can be greatly rewarded. Next, we have 5 Finger Discount. Now at first it may just seem like an expensive removal spell for blue, however, the real value comes once the game is over. This spell gives you permanent card advantage in your personal collection while putting your opponent at a personal card disadvantage in their personal collection, which is incredible value for 6 mana. It is highly recommended to cast this spell in vintage tournaments, where there is a surplus of high value targets, such as the Moxen. It is also highly recommended to make a hasty escape once the game is over. The final blue card is one that I'm frankly shocked is in this set, considering how broken the mechanic was the last time it was printed. But here it is, Crowstorm, a sorcery that puts 1/2 flying creatures named Stormcrow onto the battlefield. While this does cost more than the infamous creature spell, it can also put out more than 1 Stormcrow, thanks to the inclusion of the other lesser known mechanic, Storm. This card is insanely powerful, and I fully expect it to be banned shortly after the set launches. Now we're on to green, with Druid of the Sacred Beaker. The most notable aspect of this card is the creature type. If you look closely, you'll notice that it has the deer typing, making it the first creature with the creature type deer. The pairing with the creature type bird is a bit unusual, considering the creature type bird is found more often in white or blue, but regardless, this card is very good, adding to the growing pool of playable Animorph Druid cards. Next we have Earl of Squirrel, bringing more support for one of the most iconic tribes in Magic, squirrels. It is generally agreed upon in my close circle of highly professional players that squirrels are the second strongest tribe, trumped only by birds, for obvious reasons. And with this card's ability to pump out squirrels every turn and give them a boost, it firmly cements the position of squirrels at the number 2 spot without a doubt. Finally, for green is Squirrel Dealer, another useful tool for the squirrel deck. It is a 1-mana 1/1 that will always create a 1/1 squirrel token. Always. Always. A simple but powerful card, it will likely see play in every squirrel-based deck. Moving on to black, we have Summon the Pack. Now this is a very high variance card, but with a very high potential payoff, depending on which booster pack is chosen to open. For instance, one could open a classic 6th edition pack for the chance of a Stormcrow depicted with lightning, or instead an Alliance pack for a Stormcrow flying left or right, both very powerful but distinct creatures. Or maybe you open a 9th edition pack for the Stormcrow in black border. These are some of the many nuanced lines of play one must consider when trying to maximize the value of a Summon the Pack. Next we have Hangman, another card with fluctuating value, although this one depends on how strong your opponent's Hangman skills are. Before considering on playing this card, ask your opponent if they had ever recently won a Hangman tournament. If they say yes, then it is recommended to never cast the card, lest you be embarrassed when they guess correctly that the secret word was Hangman. The final black card is Spike, Tournament Grinder. A very powerful card, its ability lets you tutor some of the most broken spells in Magic history, allowing you to combo off and win on the spot if played correctly. Just off the top of my head, you could pull a Time Walk and a Green Sun Zenith, cast a Green Sun Zenith putting a Stormcrow into play, then cast Time Walk in order to take another turn, allowing you to swing in with the tutored Stormcrow immediately, all for the low cost of 4 generic, 2 blue, 1 green, and 10 Phyrexian black mana. Incredible power. I will be ending this review by looking at the artifacts, specifically contraptions, one of the main mechanics of the set. What the fuck?